Hi guys, Aaron Dorr here with Wyoming Gun Owners. The August 16 primary is coming very quickly now, and we're being asked by our members and gun owners across the state, who is the pro-gun candidate in my district? Now, who's going to fight for gun rights where I live? Today's video is about House District number 9, and we're going to answer that question for gun owners in Laramie County. It's the northeast edge of Metro Cheyenne, and it's featuring an incumbent in this race, Landon Brown, versus Alan Sheldon. Now, despite what Ed Buchanan would like to insist in court, WIGO's not in the business of telling you who to vote for. We're not going to do that tonight. We never have in any of our videos before. Instead, our job is to answer your question, who's pro-gun? And equally as important these days, how do we know who we can trust? Because everyone says they're pro-gun at election time, especially here in Wyoming. Heck, Liz Cheney always says she's pro-gun, and a month ago, she stood side by side with Nancy Pelosi and AOC and voted yes on Joe Biden's massive federal gun control bill. So how do we know who we can trust? We're going to answer that, guys, in today's video. Again, we have an incumbent, Landon Brown, challenger, Alan Sheldon, and I should mention a third candidate in this race, Dean Peterson. I want to confirm his last name. Dean Peterson has refused to sign our candidate survey, and as far as we can tell, Dean Peterson is not actively involved in this campaign anymore. He has no online activity in over a month, and as far as we can tell, he's no longer actively campaigning. So we're going to focus on these two guys instead. We're going to start with Alan Sheldon. Now, Alan Sheldon is one of these guys who doesn't beat about the bush when it comes to his views on the Second Amendment. Alan was one of the first guys to return the WIGO gun rights candidate survey, and it was 100% pro-gun. You know, we use these surveys to put the candidates on the record. Everyone will tell you they're pro-gun at a candidate forum. The question is, who will put their views in writing? You know, who will sign the dotted line and say, this is where I stand? Because once you and I have those surveys, and you can see Alan Sheldon's on our website, then we have the tools that we need to hold them accountable. So Alan surveyed 100% pro-gun. We're very pleased to acknowledge that. And what that means is that Alan is on the record saying, I will oppose all the gun control bills being pushed right now, both here in Wyoming and across the country. And these days, the biggest threat is red flag gun seizures. As I mentioned, the bill that Liz Cheney voted for just last month gave Joe Biden and the DOJ $750 million to bribe states like Wyoming into passing red flag gun seizures. Now, you guys know a lot of rhinos here in Cheyenne would love to pass red flag laws. We have stopped that so far. But with the feds dangling tens of millions before them, there's going to be a renewed effort on this, mark my words, in the upcoming legislative session. And so to have Alan Sheldon on the record opposing that is a very, very good thing. He's also opposed to any attempt to ban AR-15s or any magazines that hold over 10 rounds of ammo. He's opposed to any effort to have a statewide gun registry. And a lot of Republicans these days are backing that here in Wyoming and across the country. He's opposed to waiting periods, which has support amongst rhinos here in Wyoming. He's opposed to fixed NICS, which has support amongst rhinos here in Wyoming. And last but not least, Alan Sheldon knows that we have to fix Wyoming's Second Amendment Preservation Act. A lot of you guys know what happened this past session. I'm not going to belabor the point too much, but what happened here in Cheyenne was a travesty. The rhinos in the legislature, terrified about the attacks they're going to receive from gun owners right now during these primaries, took the Second Amendment Preservation Act, they stripped it bare, they removed the teeth out of the bill, and they left it wide open for abuse. And so now, while we have a SEPA law on the books, there's no teeth. There's no enforcement. It's a paper tiger. Everybody who cares about gun rights knows what happened this year in Cheyenne, but very few candidates will say on writing, we need to fix it. Alan Sheldon will do that, and we're happy to acknowledge that from Mr. Sheldon. Now, Landon Brown. Landon Brown is an interesting situation for tonight's video. You know, Landon Brown is one of those kind of guys who, yeah, he'll vote yes on a gun bill when it comes on the floor. He's done that before. But he'll also vote against gun bills if leadership tells him to vote against gun bills. And I'm going to give you an example of this. Gun-free zone repeal. Everyone knows that gun-free zones are lethal. Madmen are always looking for gun-free zones because in those areas, you and I are disarmed, we can't defend ourselves, and they can get a body count. Everybody knows that. One of WIGO's primary objectives over the years has been to repeal gun-free zones here in Wyoming. We came very close to doing that just a couple of years ago, but Landon Brown voted with the Rhinos and the Democrats against the bill. I'm talking about House Bill number 183, and you don't have to take my word for it. You can look it up. The date was January 31st, 2019. They even give the time, 2:22 p.m. Again, House Bill 183. The Speaker's office was opposed to this because the Speaker, at that time, Harshman, was a radical Rhino. He put the word out, you vote no on this bill. And Landon Brown jumped to that tune, and when we needed him to stand up and fight for gun rights, Landon Brown stabbed us in the back. That's the kind of stuff you're not going to hear from the candidates that we want to make sure you have. And again, don't take my word for it. You can look it up for yourself. But what really got our attention about Landon Brown was his attitude this session in Wyoming. You know, we have a madman in the White House, right? We have a complete demented tyrant, China bought and paid for tyrant who wants to use executive actions to attack gun owners across the country, and he's doing it right now. The fight over the Second Amendment Preservation Act was wildly important to make sure that Biden couldn't use Wyoming cops to carry out his agenda. Now, like I said, the Rhinos made sure that that fight was lost, but what was really frustrating was Landon Brown's comments in the paper. And I've got them here. I'm going to read off some of these comments for you. Landon Brown attacked gun owners and mocked gun owners, frankly, for our concerns about Joe Biden and gun control. Landon Brown attacked us for fighting so hard to pass SAPA law. He said, we should have had more time this session, but instead, we're busy debating guns. It's always about guns. Let me go forward to the next page here. He said, for a state like Wyoming, debating guns is just a complete waste of time. He goes on to say that Brown is now, I'm at a crossroads with the party because now we become an extreme Republican party because we support the Second Amendment. And finally, he says, I am completely embarrassed many times to call myself a Republican from Wyoming because when people see your name associated with that, they think he must be one of those crazies. So according to Landon Brown, if you care about the Second Amendment, if you care about the direction of our state, and if you care about making sure that Joe Biden can't use our cops to enforce his unconstitutional executive orders, you're crazy. That's what Landon Brown said. He didn't say it in some private chat room. He didn't say it on some Telegram group. He told it to the media publicly. You can look it up for yourself. So that's what we're talking about when we say everybody says they're pro-gun at election time. The question is, what do they do under the pressure? And Landon Brown has a history of voting for gun control on the record and attacking gun owners who are fighting to save our state. It's insulting. He's also a big supporter of Liz Cheney. Now, you know, who a person supports for higher office is not normally a part of these videos. But Liz Cheney is an exception. Liz Cheney voted for Joe Biden's gun control bill just last month. Liz Cheney has voted twice before to mandate red flag laws in the military. Now, thankfully, President Trump, who was in office at that time, vetoed that attack from Liz Cheney. But Liz Cheney, over and over and over, has voted for radical gun control. And so when we see candidates like Landon Brown who support that, despite her support for gun control, that tells us something about the mindset of Landon Brown. And we thought that was important for you guys to know. So again, Alan Sheldon, 100% pro-gun. Every question we asked him up and down the line, supports the Second Amendment, knows we have to fix SAPA, and he said on his website that our gun rights are God-given, and it's our job to defend them. We agree with that sentiment. And when it comes to Landon Brown, like I said, votes for gun control on the record, backing radical leftist Liz Cheney. And again, very insulting comments to gun owners when session ended this year, mocking us and calling us crazy for fighting for our gun rights. Guys, this one's important. Share our video with every gun owner you know. Share it on social media. Share it by email. Get the word out. And guys, join WIGO today. Get involved in our fight for freedom. Go to www.joinwigo.com.